Hi, I'm Aubrey.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. We're two friends having a good time.
I happen to be a Christian, and that's okay.
And I happen to be an atheist, and that's okay.
Welcome to the Christian and the Atheist podcast.
Let's dive in.
Hey guys, have you left a review for our podcast yet? Head over to wherever you listen to your podcast and do that right now.
And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Christian and the Atheist, and TikTok at Christian and Atheist.
Check us out on Patreon for ad-free content.
And speaking of ads, if you or your business would like to sponsor the Christian and the Atheist podcast, feel free to contact us to get started.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today's guest is the one and only Kevin Garcia. Kevin Garcia is a queer author, and they have written Bad Theology, and their next book that's coming out this January, you can pre-order right now, is What Makes You Bloom. Hello, Kevin.
Hi. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're thrilled to have you.
Where are y'all in the world, by the way?
We're in Oklahoma.
Like the heartland.
Yeah.
It's good and fringe.
Yeah, same thing with Atlanta. It's like everything's cool about Atlanta. The only problem is we're surrounded by Georgia.
Okay, so Kevin is a spirituality coach. They aim to heal spiritual wounds, create new practices for a healthy life, process experiences related to queerness and faith identity, practice radical honesty, avoid spiritual burnout, and remind people of their infinite connection to love, capital L, love.
Capital L.
In your new book, that I cannot wait to get my hands on it, like physically, I got to read part of it and I was loving it. You talk about capital L, love. Do you want to kind of give us a why you say it like that?
Yeah, because the word God doesn't mean anything too much anymore.
Yeah.
Or people have coupled it to mean white male God, meaning the God of evangelical Christians, the God who sanctioned slavery and sanctioned apartheid, and who's sanctioning all the violence in the world right now, you know? That's what when people hear God in a Western context, that's what they're thinking of. And so it's like, well, then if that word triggers you or it doesn't work for you anymore, find a different word. And so I found the word, love. Everyone knows what you're talking about. Like, you don't really have to qualify that, because something, of course, in Miracle says is love is obvious and so is hate. Yeah. And so it's like, when I say in the name of love, I'm saying in the name of God, I'm saying in the name of Christ, in the name of all, in the name of the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas and the saints and the angels. Like, for me, like, that my orientation towards God is no longer a personality outside of you or me, but the love that I feel exchanged between all creation.
I love that. That's pretty.
Yeah. Very nice and theopoetical, right?
I like it.
Another way that I've put it is just like to refer to it as grace with a capital G. Whatever it is. I'm just like, grace.
Yeah. I'm the spiritual one. She's the atheist.
Yes.
Yeah.
I recently left like evangelicalism and went more towards Unitarian Universalist. And
I love a UU. The UUs are great.
It's like I had no idea, just thanks to my evangelical like background, like don't you look at anything else because there's only one God. And it's like, that's cute. I've been missing out. And so now in my like late 30s, I'm over here. I can't believe I said that. Anyways, my 30s.
Listen, let him know I'm in my mid 30s. Like,
I called myself middle-aged recently and no one corrected me. I was like, how rude.
So with being Unitarian Universalist now, it's funny to say that. It's like the old Christian me's like gasp. It's fun to look at your like what you've created, because we'll get into your story shortly. Everybody's got to hear it. It's freaking great. Is that like going from Christianity to now, like you either go hardcore, leave the church and say fuck everything that has to do with spirituality, because it just doesn't work. Like I don't want to put words in your journey.
No, but I got to a point spiritually that I was like, okay, if this thing that I have been taught is the one truth for my whole life is wrong, then what else is wrong? And I came to the conclusion that for myself, it all was, and that works for me.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you know, it doesn't work for everybody, but
and so like me being on my journey so like recent, I'm seeing this side of things where it's like, okay, atheism, I'm not there, and I don't think I ever will be. I love that for people. I love this for her, and it works, and I want that for her. I want what works for her to work.
Right.
But then I'm over here as not Christian, but Christian foundation, but like spiritual, but like, is there a God? I think so. I feel a connection. And I've recently had a spiritual experience where I was like, oh my God, I remember this. Like, but I was Christian when I last felt this. Now I'm a like someone, I'm out here floating in the ether trying to figure out what this is.
I think what's very interesting too is that like among like I have like, you know, among queer people, atheists are a dime a dozen. Everyone, atheists, atheists are a dime a dozen anyways. But like those of us who I think like
we're everywhere.
Yeah. I find we have the thing that all of us have in common, I think, is the reverence for life itself and the reference for the lived experience. Like my best friend in college, Carrie, she was like, yeah, I'm a secular humanist. I'm just like, oh, what does that mean? And I'm over here like a closeted gay evangelical, like, but like it was like nobody, it was like Kevin, nobody's fools. But like that was like something I recognized about Carrie is like, even though, you know, like she's not, she says that she's not spiritual, but she cares so much about people and love and how to love people and doing the right thing. I'm like, that's like, you know, I think that's what Christ would call the faultless religion.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, like good for, I don't get like, I don't even, I try not to identify myself as anything because it's like, who do y'all say that I am?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and
like,
it's one of those things that the label, the word doesn't really make a difference. It's how you behave and how you walk through life. That's what really matters. So I could walk through life tomorrow and say I'm suddenly a spiritualist worshiper of phone cases, and that's my journey, and everyone would have to deal, but I'm probably going to be the same person.
Yeah. And the thing about it is weird. No, like that's the thing though. It's just like, you know, I don't think, you know, spirituality or lack thereof, just like drag, does not conceal who you are. It reveals who you are.
Yeah, that's good.
And so it's just like, if you're a dick, you're probably going to be a dick when you're an atheist. Is the same you were when you're evangelical. You got to unpack that.
Exactly.
And also just like same thing with Christians. Like most Christians I know are assholes, and I don't like them, and I don't want to be their friend, and I don't want to be associated with them. If that's what it means to be a Christian, no, thank you.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't remember Jesus talking about being like this, and here you are killing it at being exactly what Jesus said not to do. But cool. All in the name of Jesus Christ.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, your book, What Makes You Bloom, is really a special book for people like me. Maybe not necessarily well, I think you can get a little bit out of it, but there's people like me, I feel like, who are in this like space of like, what the do we do now? Because I want to, like, do I believe in Jesus Christ as like the Son of God? I don't think so. Probably not. I'm more leaning towards no.
I know. I mean, like, no more Son of God than any of us sitting here.
Right. There you go. And so it's like, okay, now what do I do with the spirituality that I've had, but now it's like evolved into something else. And so I think your book kind of like helps say, hey, here's some options, or here's what you can do with this energy that you're holding on to. So with all that being said, we'll talk more about your book, but I want to know more about your religious journey from the beginning to now, because that is a whole ass thing.
Yeah.
And I want to know more.
Like I said, I'm not going to give you like I can give a 30-minute TED talk on all the emotionalities and stuff, but for the sake of time, I grew, like every good queer Christian story says, I was born in a good Christian household, and my mama was the worship leader, my uncle was the pastor, and my daddy was 29 years military. I was baptized on July 9th, 1999 at 9 years old.
I was baptized at 8.
Oh, damn it. What a good, you're holier than me for sure. But like when I got baptized, I felt like I really did have like some kind of connection or spiritual experience. And then when I got baptized later, I was like, what the fuck is this? what happened here? How come I felt something there in the woods, under a full moon running
Oh my
around.
God, what a moment. Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
and then
Praise
I didn't feel
God.
anything. Yeah, I didn't feel anything in the baptismal font. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, maybe I thought that I did it wrong. And so I
Mhm.
spent most of my life trying to chase that feeling of deep connection, and was always weirdly pious, like among all my friends. Like and it was probably slash most likely was like I'm trying to be a penitent gay.
Mhm.
Um, Fast forward, I'm like 13. My dad outs me to my mom. I get put into ex-gay therapy for like 10-ish years. Classic.
Fun.
Uh, yeah,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I bought in because like they offered a solution to my problem. It was just,
Mhm.
if you do the right thing, don't, surround yourself only with other Christians, and
Mhm.
that's basically how you don't be gay. But guess what? There's other gay people in the church. Did you know? Did you
Who
know?
knew? Holy crap, they're everywhere.
I know.
That's amazing.
These gays, they're trying to kill me. Um, but like that, for fast forward, I don't date anyone. I have a secret shame for most of my time. And I'm like fervently praying and like serving the church through my teens and early 20s. When I get to college, I accidentally fall into a Pentecostal cult
Oh
that my
no.
fraternity brother invited me to.
What? Shame on him.
Yeah.
This is
I'm just like,
crazy.
I'm like, Roger, just because you got saved didn't mean you got to get everybody saved. God damn
Jesus,
it.
Roger.
Come on, Roger.
God damn it, Roger.
How dare you?
Also, Roger, I love you and I miss you. I hope you're doing good. He was really
Roger, I'm not
like,
mad anymore.
I'm really not mad. Like, because also he's not there anymore too. Like,
Yeah,
we
that's
both kind
good.
of
well,
realized.
good.
And then when I was there, I met a guy who came to our church, and I was very enamored by him. I was in love with him. But he told me about this thing called the World Race, which was run by another culty organization called Adventures in Missions. And I, went around the world, and I was a missionary, and I was trying, chasing signs and wonders. But what I was really chasing was like, is God going to heal me of my homosexuality?
Yeah.
Probably not.
It's,
Um,
it's not
and
how
like, it's
God
like,
works.
I know, weird, right?
Yeah.
It's almost just like we evolved this way.
Yeah.
Um, but on the other side of the world, like I felt like I was experiencing the love of God from all these people who did not confess Jesus. And I was just like, well, this doesn't line up. I'm just like, how is it that these people who I'm supposed to be quote unquote ministering to or serving, how is it that I'm actually learning more about love from them than I am from my teammates who we're supposed to be the good guys, quote unquote. Um, and so I quit the world race. I go home. I am incredibly depressed. And because of my evangelical programming, somehow I end up working for them for about 6 months, paying them to work for them, because that's how cults work. They really
It
kind of,
tracks.
yeah. And I finally get to a point, they're like, learn to trust the Holy Spirit. Listen to the Holy Ghost. The ghost, God's always talking. And I felt like God was saying, bitch, get out of there. And
Run.
like, it was just like, it's okay. Like, you're gay. It's fine. You're like, go do it. So when I finally came out, I was kicked out of that world, and I ended up in Atlanta, where I have now carved out a life for myself, which is pretty great. Shout out to my mom for helping me get a loan so I could get this house.
Yay.
I got a dog and a yard, and
Yeah.
I finished my master's degree in 2020, like when everything locked down. That was a wild ride. And written 2 books now. And what I do for my work now is I help people create spiritual practices for connecting with a sense of true self. And I really like, I really don't care what people call it. And like I don't even think that you need to believe in any sort of higher power, intelligence, or anything else. I'm talking about being in awe of life itself. And that's happened, like, for me, what I call God is the process of a tree turning sunlight, radiation, like photons from thousands and thousands of miles away, into glucose through chlorophyll, which it just developed.
Like
Trees just developed a way to eat sunlight and create sugar, and all, and like that from, and then also it's sucking up nutrients from the dirt
right
through its fingers. Or maybe it's toes. I don't know.
Whichever one. Regardless, roots. It's whatever that is. It's amazing. Yeah.
And then it's like, you're telling me that I'm going to take this coffee that I'm drinking and this is going to become a human. And anything that doesn't become human gets, pissed out later. Same thing with the oxygen and the carbon dioxide in my body. I turn the oxygen into a human and I put everything else out.
Yeah.
I turn an enchilada into a human.
Think
about that. I'm like, and now you can tell me, it was like, well, your body's like breaking it down using the acids and yada yada, and then, like, where it's you can explain that, and I'll still never understand. What do you mean my body makes more blood? What do you mean my cells are multiplying over and over again? What do you mean that on the surface of my skin there are apparently microscopic little insects or something?
Yeah, we're not doing this.
I don't like that one.
That to me, no, I love it.
Skip it.
But like that to me, I'm just like, that's the wonder.
I remember
that's what I'm
watching
trying
TikTok and being like, the
in my eyelashes?
I'm not here for that.
What? No. But
for me, like,
I do really understand what you're saying.
But yeah, that's for me when I'm thinking about when I say spiritual practice, like, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with a higher power or another being outside of you. I'm just like, I'm talking about that which is closest to the center of your center of your center,
So do you feel like you appeal to both spiritual people like that, like are spiritually connected to a higher source, as well as someone who isn't, like Kathleen over here, who doesn't have a higher being that she worships? I don't know what you are.
I mean, the thing about it is like, I don't even think about the idea of like worshiping God.
Okay.
The way I think, like, God is not so much like a personality outside of you or me.
You're right.
God for me is reality itself. The way that Octavia Butler, and I quote her a lot in this book, she wrote among other things, Parable of the Sower, Parable of the Talents, and in that, one of the characters is writing down her spiritual observations in a book she calls Earthseed. And she posits the idea that God is change. Everything that you touch, you change. Everything that you change changes you. God is change. The universe constantly. That's the only thing. And with forethought, you can learn to shape God. You can learn to see the patterns of the universe or the world and shape them in such a way that you create a life that feels really, really good to you, and also rooted in a common destiny of liberation for everyone, because that's who we are as Earthseed.
I love it.
Another way they say it, like she says, like, we do not worship God, but we attend to God, and with forethought we shape God. I'm just like, to attend to God is just to be cognizant and clear about what the fuck is really going on here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say, like, for me, it's like, I find a lot of times when talking to, folks who say, I'm an atheist, I'm just like, you're still, doesn't mean that you're not spiritual.
Yeah, I will say, like, I have spiritual experiences,
yes,
I don't really know how to,
yes,
that's the most, it's not necessarily that recently my family took a trip to the Grand Canyon, and I've been there before, and it is just nature. It's beautiful. You can't even fathom how incredible this site is. And not only just the nature itself, but you go to this place where you look around and there's people from all walks of life all over the world. There's languages from, literally, we heard languages from Europe, South America, Africa. We saw all kinds of amazing different people, and what are their lives like, and what are they doing? This is their vacation and my vacation, and
we all came to see this giant hole in the ground.
Yeah, we're intersecting at the same place, and it's this incredible feeling of, like, humanity and nature and all these things. And it's, I didn't necessarily stand at the top with my children and my husband and tears streaming. I've done that type of thing before, but I more like just kind of had a moment of like, this is such an interesting, like, little sliver of life in the world.
You become so clearly, viscerally aware of the present moment.
Yes.
And its beauty, and you're like,
yeah. And
like those experiences, like, when you know that you're alive, I'm just like,
yeah,
there it is, whatever it is.
Yeah. And like, so I don't necessarily look at that and say, okay, spiritually, there's something out there that's created. I don't do that, but I do look around and think how beautiful we are as a human species, how interesting our lives all are. And my life is interesting and beautiful. And that person over there who I will never see again has traveled across the world has the same exact potential, beautiful, interesting. And so it, that type of thing. And I guess that would be a spiritual experience, but in reality, it's just humanity.
Ding, ding. And now at this point, it's all semantics.
Yeah, exactly. Just labeling it.
And that's the thing, is just like, if a label helps you get closer to whatever that feeling is, sickening, go after it. Like, some people are like, I'm a witch, I'm an atheist witch, I am a Unitarian Universalist, I call myself, if I'm going to identify as anything, a mystic. And I would even say, like, I'm a devotee of the Christ. Because I will, like, here's the thing, I try to be as, like, empirically based as possible. And then I know that when we get to the last question, I'm going to sound like a psychopath.
Yeah. Our last question, most of our audience knows, is we ask, where do you think we go when we die? Yeah. But that's for later.
That's for later. And it's like, because it's like, I can handle, I feel like I hold on to both, because at the end of the day, I recognize that I'm quite agnostic. It's just like, I do not know. Like, that is like the final admission that I'll make up. Just like, really, I don't know. Not for sure. And I'm not worried about knowing as much as I am living and having a good time. Like, that's really what I'm after here, is the pleasure of being alive and what it is to live without guilt or shame.
Yeah, I love that. That is something I feel like the door, once leaving religion, the door to that feeling opened up more for me, was not worrying so much about what's true and what's not and who says what and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Just have a good time, be happy, love people, leave the world that you're in a little better than you found it. And then you're going to be fine.
Yeah. The thing I wrote in the book, and it's a principle from A Course in Miracles, is that we should stop looking for what is true with a capital T, because that, depending on your perspective, is going to shift, and on the season of life, truly. But if you can look for what is helpful, like, that's really it. Like,
Mr. Rogers moment.
Hello. That's really it. It's just like, what is, like, and this is how I think, like, for people who have trouble letting go, or even starting to, like, question their beliefs, because, again, they're afraid of hell more than anything, or a vengeful God. It's like, I encourage you, just like, question the thoughts and see what they do with you. And a belief, Abraham Hicks says, it's just a thought we keep having over and over again, to the point where it becomes absolute reality to us. So, like, the reality of hell, for so many people, it's a reality because you've been holding on to it for so long. But actually, it's just a thought in your head. I'm going to hell if I don't do XYZ. That's the thought. And what if the thought changed to, there is no hell? What if there was just there's nothing but union. There's nothing but love. What if God's love goes beyond what I can even understand? Or better yet, like, what if there's nothing afterward? Ooh, that's my favorite thing. I'm just like, get me there. That's where
it's so peaceful sounding. It's so calming. I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to worry about it. I just know that when it's over, and that's it. And I can just do what I want here and not have to worry about it. I love it.
Oh, it's like, that's what I like. Like, I'll take that too. It's just like,
not me.
You're not going to care if there's nothing afterwards.
I will not care. You're right. Scientifically, I wouldn't care. It gives
and I also, because I can't care.
Yeah, exactly.
If there's no ability.
There's no caring. Who cares?
But I'm over here like, I want to live forever. Excuse me. Call me Edward from Edward Cullen.
Edward Cullen.
My brain went Edward Scissorhands.
That's where I went too. I was like, Edward Scissorhands? Like,
I don't know. I mean, I guess.
I'm like, rock on. That's my reality.
Yeah, right. But all right. I don't know. I just have this want and need to not to be in connection with a, like, I don't know, collective consciousness or something where we have these experiences for a reason, not just because evolution, though evolution I freaking validate and love,
right,
and think it's a fantastic thing, but I want it to be something that another thing had control over in a way, and like we're all a part of it, and we all come together and we're like, oh shit, that was crazy.
Well, my question for you is that thing that you're talking about, like, you know, having some sort of hand in it, I'm just like, that's, for me, is you.
Yeah,
like
I'm getting there.
Yeah, because like it's like, I think we can, because it's almost like, what happens after you die? I'm just like, well, what happens before you get here? That's another great question.
Oh, that's a whole other podcast.
I think I was somewhere else. I think I was somewhere.
I think I was a bundle of cells.
Yeah.
Somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was an egg in my mother's.
You were the DNA from 1,000 ancestors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's something there, y'all.
Sure.
And it could be nothing.
And that's the thing. It could be like, and again, like, that's the thing. It's like, what's most helpful? If what's most helpful is there's nothing after this, so therefore I must live my life to the complete fullest and experience as much as I can because this is it. That in some way is thrilling, and what a beautiful thing to go after. And then on the other hand, like I am, you know, I'm a yogi in some ways, and so like I really love the idea of having more than one shot at this thing, where my soul has been here before, and my soul is going to do something afterward. And I like that idea. I love the idea in some ways of just like, I've been trying for maybe thousands of lifetimes to find myself again. And so basically, you know, like in all of like the spiritual systems throughout the world at their highest level, what they're trying to do is touch the ineffable. To get in touch with the piece of just like, and to also come face to face with, what if there's nothing? How will I still live? You know, if all, and also like the idea of nirvana anyways is the idea of the candle blowing out. Is the idea of return. You came from nothing, you will go back to nothing, which is also within that container of infinity. We are contained within that. And it's like, so for, at least for me, no matter what, I feel like I'm held. Like it's like, because it's like, you know, I come here and then I go. It's just like, well, nothing technically happened, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, and this is where we're like, you know, like we get into relativism and weird. I'm just like, well, there was no one there to begin with because I was never, you know, I never was born and I'm never going to die.
Yeah. It's like, Aubrey's gonna have a breakdown.
Yeah, let's now I'm so sorry. Let me not send you on to existential dread. Because also the thing about it is to get to questions and conversations like that of conjecturing about what happens in between life or in between lifetimes is nowhere near as important as like, how am I going to deal with my suffering right now? Is like, that's really like the thing that we, I think, need the most help with. Is understanding like life is hard, especially when you, and being able to name the systems that make life hard. Patriarchy, white supremacy, you know, pick your ism. And for me, spirituality and daily practice, like regardless, you know, again, regardless of whether you think you're tapping into something or you're just tapping into your own body and breath, for me, it's like, what's the difference? You know, these practices, even if you strip them of their esotericism, like, are helpful because it's about taking time to love and center your pleasure and your body and your own peace. And also, how do you create the boundaries with people who are different than you? And also, how do you take care of yourself so you can be in community and actually fight the good fight? Like, these are the practical questions I'm actually concerned with, because truthfully, the question of happens what after we die is not important. Not for me, at least. I love going there.
No. Like, remember when we were all Christian at one point?
It was a really important
deal.
If you die today, where do you think
you're gonna say the Lord?
Like, if I die today, I'm just like,
damn it.
I'm in a world of hurt if I'd had a day.
I'm just thinking of just like my damn, like who's gonna feed my damn dog?
Yeah, like who's gonna like comfort my kids?
Ugh, damn it. Who's gonna remember to call the school when I'm sick? Because it's sure as hell ain't gonna be them. It's gonna be me. I'm gonna be phoning in from wherever, like, sorry, Margot, she's got the flu. She won't be there too. Thank you.
So you were talking about spiritual practices. Sure. What are your spiritual practices that would you like to share with us?
Yeah, I keep daily meditation practices. Like the thing I recommend is also the thing I do for myself. And I got to get over the fact that like I have like branded language around the shit that I do because it's like, and I have to like stop rolling my eyes because it's actually really helpful and I need to not be a bitch to myself. Okay, now that I've said that, the kind of like technique I teach people, or I just call it a living practice, because everything else that you've been doing feels dead, right? You've been, back in the day, it was read your Bible, go to church, and pray. That's how you be a good Christian. And so I was like, well, that's not a bad recipe for a practice. Like read something inspiring, connect with source, and gather with people who feel good, share time with people that you love. And so what I teach for myself and what I keep for myself is every day I have my individual practice is movement and stillness. So either, take myself for a hot girl walk, do some yoga. I love lifting weights now. Like in my 30s now, I'm lifting weights and I'm like really
That's
loving
wild.
it. It's the both and I really have to remind myself like the results, or not the results, but just the feeling I get from it is what I really love. The endorphins are just killer.
It is. There is definitely something to, all these people all these years have been like, exercise is my happy place. I'm like, you're a liar. Now I'm like, all right, I guess I get it.
Yeah. And then once it's like, I have my inner protesters, it's like, I don't want to do that right now.
Yeah.
And it's like the only time in my life is like, Kevin, if you think less right now, stop thinking. Like you're sitting in the YMCA parking lot, you're 100 feet from the door. Stop, just get in there. If you get in there, you'll do it.
Go. Yeah.
And sometimes I will drive away because you know what? It's my prerogative.
Yeah.
I'm in control of this.
Yeah.
But then like, I try to figure out like because the question really is, what does my body want to do? And if my body's like, I don't want to fucking work out right now. I'm stressing out thinking about making me you, Kevin, are stressing me out, the body, by making me go in there. Like, I was like, well, what do you want to do? I want to go home and I just want to do deep stretches. Okay, fine.
That's exercise.
Yeah.
There you go.
I want to go home and I want to, do something else. I want to do this later in the day.
Yeah.
And and so I had to really like learn to like stop guilting myself for whatever reason. Anyways, I do something about movement. That's paramount. Move your body in a way that feels good. 2, find a text that is inspiring and read it. Big fan of poetry, and I think things like the poetry of Rumi is really delightful. Mary Oliver's poetry, Nikki Giovanni, Young Pueblo. Like, find poetry that makes you connect with, like, my friend Sarah Anna has a major collection of sapphic poetry that's just so out of this world. So I can, I'll send you a link for all those things. So find something. And maybe it's another holy text. Like, I love the gleanings of Baha'u'llah, which is the writings of the Baha'i faith. Reading some of the midrash from, Jewish texts, reading, the Quran, so you can actually say, yeah, I actually know it's in the Quran.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say the Quran. I apologize. Peace.
Not like in a bad way, but in a like Christians talking about, do you know what's in there?
Yes, I do. I love doing that as an atheist. People be like, well, you've never read the Bible. And I'm like,
actually, I got a degree.
Set your pants back on.
5 times probably.
And also it's
7 times 70 front to back.
Listen, like I can give you like the biblical history of Israel. Like
there you go.
I know all the kings and whatnot. No, I don't. In a way that feels good to your body.
Yes.
Finding a text that feels good, getting still. Like for me, it's like it's a time-tested technique. Whether it's just mindfulness, it's like Zen meditation where you're just focusing on the breath and coming into the present moment and trying to still your thoughts. Or it's a guided visualization. Like this morning, like yesterday, I taught breath practice to my class today. I did a inner child visualization to connect with like some inner wounds that need healing. And some people just, so whatever it is, whatever, just my request, and I think my admonition for people is whatever you do, you must be consistent about it. And it's because so many of us, we're a start and stop culture. And that's because we are distracted, and we also think that results should be instant. And we think that if I don't do it perfectly, I don't deserve to do it at all. And
That's good.
And like the thing is like for me, like sometimes I'm meditating for 20 minutes, sometimes it's 5, sometimes I get a breath and I go, okay, I've woken up and my dog has torn up the living room, or somebody called and someone's died and I just have a moment of breath, or oh fuck, I overslept and I got to get to work. Whatever it is, like, it does not have to be perfect.
No.
But just like I've meditated every day for years, even if it is just for 1 minute or for one breath. And that's the thing, it's just like, and 9 times out of 10, if I can at least get that one breath in, I know that later on I'm going to be okay. And that's the whole point. It's not to get holy. You don't keep a practice to get holy. You keep your practices to remind you that you are. Who you are at your very core, your very existence. Like, you're good. Not to be good, but to remind you that you are good with a capital G. Like you're very, very
that way.
You've always been that way. Like the way that we have it in the West is we think that you're rotten to your core from birth, and therefore you must layer virtue upon yourself in order to stop yourself from causing an already fallen world to be more fallen. When in reality, you come into these forms, at least from where I'm sitting, you come into these forms because you want to do something, because you wanted to co-create something on purpose. And you did so knowing that there was going to be contrasting events, because you knew that if you didn't experience the contrast, you wouldn't know how to begin moving towards what you actually wanted. And so like that's what practice is. It's learning, who am I? What do I want? How can I move closer to it every day?
That's so good. And I think your book, the one coming out, is helping guide towards that. Do you want to talk a little bit about the book? And my question is what led you to write the book in the first place? And then we can talk spiritual practices in the book.
But funny enough, it's like everything that we've been talking about so far is also like in the book too. Like everything from like what
I was about to say, I've heard this before. I skimmed through the first few chapters, and so far chapter 2 is my favorite because it literally is just go take a nap. And
she's a nap queen.
That is my life. Like I live every day is when can I nap today? That is my goal.
It's our spiritual practice.
I am a professional napper. I'm real good at it.
No,
and that's how I stay sane. It's how I do things.
You, blessed are you among all women, because girl, you fucking got it.
Yes.
Like that's really it. It's like if you can, oh my God, if the reason
I will rearrange my day in order to take a nap.
I literally was are you gonna be here for this? Did you wake up?
But I did already nap today.
Yes. I have on days when I'm just too exhausted, I have fully canceled calls and just I am so sorry, I'm exhausted. I have to go lay down right now.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah, it's okay.
The person who modeled that for me was actually my therapist, who has like some chronic pain issues that sometimes come up that preclude her. And also like if she's sick, she's like, I can't come into our session today. I'm so sorry. And she's modeled for me like what it is, even having to cancel last minute because things come up.
Yes.
And so that's how I practice it with all of my students, is like reschedule whenever you want for whatever reason.
You're allowed.
Like, and people are just like, that sounds crazy. How do you get anything done? I'm like, it's only
sometimes
crazy.
You skip things.
Yeah. Sometimes you skip things. And also like, it doesn't mean like no one's going to die if we miss our appointment. Okay. I'm just like, and also it's going to serve me like the reason rest. And then I'll answer your question in just a second about like, why did I mean, it kind of like goes in. The reason I wrote this book is because we are at a point where we need a little bit of like, how do I feel better? And I want I wanted to take the things I was teaching my students in like one-to-one class, like one-to-one coaching, and in like the group classes that I teach. And I wanted to slightly systematize it in a way that was accessible to people who have like, specifically I was writing to like a lot of ex-Christians and people who are deconstructing from that because it's the world I come from. Um, and the reason I wrote is because like I wanted to feel like, how the hell am I doing this? How am I connecting to myself, to love? And what, I took the things that were working for me and that working for my students, and I put them into, a book that for me, like really outlines like step by step, like, what is it like, what is a way for me to be spiritual without being religious if I want to be? How do I honor myself completely, fully, leave room for some mystery and also be okay with saying, I don't fucking know. Like,
yeah, I'm so there right now.
Like, that's the thing. No, you're perfect because like what's wonderful is like, I don't know, do you relate to the feeling of being unmoored? Like you're on the raft and you're floating out on the ocean and there's no wind, and the ocean is like your spirituality in life.
No, I gotta figure this shit out now. Like where I thought I knew, but no, I don't. That's
Yeah,
where,
and then also the storms come up, and then eventually Wilson goes overboard, and you're like,
Wilson!
And I was talking to somebody else about this the other day. I'm just like, that's all of us. We're all castaway. We've got off the island finally. And we're still holding on to this one thing from the island, Wilson, our faith.
Wilson.
Or our need to know or understand or be certain, or like we want certainty. And I think rather than that, I'm just like, I just want clarity about, because when I'm clear, but by that I mean I want to get anything that is a block to the awareness of love's presence out of the way, including especially my own thoughts. And that, like, for me, I'm just like, when I lost my Wilson, if you will, my Wilson was like, I think like white Jesus in some way, because it was, okay, well, if Jesus didn't die for if hell's not real, then Jesus didn't die to save me from anything. Why did Jesus die in the first place? Is Jesus exactly who he said he was? Probably, yeah, it just, turtles all the way down. And it feels so different now on this side, where it's like, it's no longer about being saved from anything except for like a small life, and for me, like, if Jesus is an important person to y'all, like, people can still hold on to Jesus. Like, he's a fine guy, totally cool. And at the same time, if he's nobody to you, he died 2,000 years ago. I don't think he gives a fuck,
He's fine. Everything's fine. He doesn't
like,
know.
that's the thing. Like, he doesn't exactly, because I'm just like, and this is where like my spirituality kind of like, not to quote a turf, but to quote Harry Potter 7. I don't know who wrote Harry Potter. We don't know. It's an ancient text.
The collective youth wrote it together and it appeared. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
The youth of the world of like the
yeah, that's another podcast for us to have, where we mourn the loss. It's a complicated piece of literature for those of us for whom it was formative. Especially because to Harry Potter 7, spoilers, but if you haven't read Harry Potter by now, you didn't want to, which is fine.
It's been like 30 years. Get your shit
together. It's fine. But Harry Potter 7, Harry goes out to the woods, Voldemort zaps him, and then they go to the in-between place, King's Cross, and Dumbledore shows up, and he was dead in book 6, so it's like, oh. And the last thing Harry says, Dumbledore, is any of this real, or is it all in my head? And Dumbledore says, of course it's in your head, Harry, but does it mean any of it's not real? Toodaloo.
Yeah.
And that is where, like, for me, when I am, meditating, or I am visualizing, or I'm even leading other people like into the cave of the heart, am I really going anywhere? No. But in my beautiful mind, which has a powerful thing called imagination, I have the ability to create an entire world and allow my body and my energetic self to experience the benefits of something that I'm creating in a place that I have like, where is it? Where am I going when I close my eyes and seeing, quote unquote, seeing all these things? No clue. And it's like, is any of it real? Could be. Probably not. But doesn't mean it's not helpful.
Mhm.
Like, that's the thing. Once again, it's like, if it helps me to think that my ancestors are still with me, perfect. If it's helpful
Right.
to think that there's nothing after this, perfect. If it's helpful for me to think that there is an intelligence inside of every single atom,
Mm.
atoms are intelligent. They're just choosing to stay together. Or not.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not. They're like, no.
They're listening
Like,
to this conversation. They're like, shit, they onto us.
we're on to you, atoms. We're gonna get you. What? But yeah, I think like that's the whole book is like it follows a path where like I'm using the fruit of the spirit as a teaching tool,
Yeah.
redefining them not
Yeah.
as like, things that come from deprivation, but things like that
Right.
naturally occur as like self-control. For me, it's not about deprivation. It is about what do I want to do? What do
Yeah.
I want to do and nothing
Yeah.
else? I don't want to
Yeah.
feel like self-control is being able to like feel pressure and not succumb to it.
Mhm.
The ability to like have a request come to you and you can say no if you want.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
also be able to say yes to everything you want.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Without the living in this horrible, shameful guilt afterwards, which regardless of what the answer is, you're allowed to say yes or no. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want.
Are you a spiritual coach? Because my God, you'd be a good one.
Isn't she amazing? Like all
Yeah,
through the crap I went through, she has been a resource that I never knew I needed. And like
Yeah.
as like my atheist friend.
Just because I did it all before. I remember it sucks, but
you have such a good way of like being like, no matter what happens, everything's gonna be okay.
Because it
no
will.
matter what. And I'm like, you're right. Is
can-
Jesus with me? Maybe, maybe not. But
It's
it's gonna be
me.
okay.
I'm Jesus.
Ding dong. That's the thing though, is when you recognize that. I tell people like you need to meet Jesus so you realize that he ain't the point. You are.
There you go.
Exactly.
It's that, and even of course in miracles also tells us like if you want to see if you want to find Christ, look to your sibling.
Oh.
Oh, like sibling, like like they use the word brother.
I know.
They specifically use the word brother. It's very like
yes, it's
like,
a very biblical brother. Yes.
Yeah, and so I'm just like I like to say sibling, like look to.
Yes.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But that's the book.
It's a good book. It's coming. What's the date? January
9th. You can pre-order it on my website, thekevingarcia.com. You can order like an autographed copy directly from me.
Ooh.
It'll be like a little more expensive because
which is totally okay.
Yeah. I'm not Amazon Prime, so you'll have to pay shipping. But you're directly supporting me as a author.
Awesome.
So that would be that. Yeah. But it's available all over. And if postage is too expensive for you because you live outside of the US, which I get, like order it from wherever feels good.
Yeah. Awesome.
So without further ado, you want to ask the final question?
Kevin, where do you think we go when we die?
Oh, I don't think we go anywhere. Like, I think I literally do think I'm just like, we've always, like, from where I'm sitting, I don't think that birth is the beginning. I don't think death is the end. I wouldn't even say I'm sure of that, but that's like the general feeling I have about it. I'd like to think that we get multiple shots at this. And by shots, I mean like we get multiple attempts at living, both to like enjoy the process of living and creating, and also to get closer back to infinity, back to source, back to love.
It's not too terrible for me.
Yeah. And that's about as like, yeah, that's about as far as I'm willing to say what I think.
That's fine. All right. Well, let everybody know where they can find you, anything. This is your time to shine. Throw all your shit out there. Plug the things.
You can follow me across the internet. My handle is at the Kevin Garcia. I'll never slide into your DMs to ask you for a reading or that. If you want to hire me for anything, you can do that through my website.
Awesome.
2, my first book, Bad Theology Kills, is available at badtheologykills.com. It's a great way, an introduction into what makes you bloom. Because it just kind of gives you a little bit more like flavor as far as like my storytelling style and like how I arrived where I did. So Make it a 2-for-1 this holiday season. What Makes You Bloom is available everywhere January 9th. There is going to be an audiobook version. I'm currently talking with the studios about when I can get in the studio, so it'll be available, if not January 9th, shortly after. My podcast is called A Tiny Revolution. It's conversations with ordinary folks living revolutionary lives is our little tagline. And we recently put out our 200th episode, so been going for a while.
That's amazing. We did 100 and I was like, that was a lot of work. So 200, you're killing it.
Find me across the internet, thekevingarcia.com. I am going to be doing a midwinter cohort, like spiritual recovery cohort in January. I'm also open for like one-to-one coaching, so if any of that feels interesting, all the information's on my website, so holler at me.
I have a question about you saying you won't drop into DMs for readings. What kind of readings do you do?
Oh, okay. So I do read tarot, and sometimes I post tarot readings on the internet. And so I've got scammers out there who are pretending to be me, sliding into people's DMs saying, "Oh, hey, I just want to be friends with you. And like, I just felt like an energetic pull towards you. Do you want me to consider you for a reading?" No.
Don't do
like,
it.
That's my Cash App, Venmo, all of it is the Kevin Garcia. If someone says, "Send me cash money to Sprinkle Cupcake 529," like that happened to someone, and then
that's a good
practice
name,
practice internet safety out there. Not everybody loves you, okay?
Yes.
But I love this. This was a great time. Thank you for having me in your space and sharing me with your people. Like, what a treat, what a dream.
Yes. Well, it's been a delight having you.
The reason we did it was because of how great you are. And I found you on TikTok a while ago. Something came up and I was like, this guy's cool. This wasn't as a Christian. And I was like, I'm not taking this human being and all the things they're putting out there. So I'm here for that. And so I think I found you that way. And then I found you on Instagram, or either it was TikTok or Instagram. I can't remember. You were saying something. And I was like, whoever this person is, I need to like follow them. So then you were like, I'm doing a podcast book tour. I was like, please. You're like, done. So thank you for your time. And thank you for everything you're putting out there.
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah. I like y'all so much. This was so fun and easy. And I love y'all. Thanks. I know I don't know you, but I have like nice emotions for you.
I appreciate that. We reciprocate it. So everybody that's listening, go show Kevin some love. Go follow on Instagram and TikTok, right? You're still on TikTok, right?
Still ticking and talking.
That's fun. But thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.